Thank
Hey, hello there.
Hi, Jerome.
Hi, hi. Great to see you. Great to see you, Dr. Da.
My pleasure. Thank you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my daughter. She understands this high tech stuff.
Oh, is your daughter that assisted you?
Just just this second it is, yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Your daughter is she's big on Instagram. She's an influencer.
She's getting there bit by bit, yeah. Yeah.
She knows a lot about the technology,
Oh
you
my
said?
gosh, automatically. Just understands it intuitively.
Yeah. It's a whole new world. It's definitely been a different world for me as well, you know. I mean, yeah, I came up with just, you know, just regular stuff. I mean, for me, it's been a learning. It's been a learning curve as well. Yeah, I grew
Well,
up. I was born in 1990, but my parents they were born in the 1950s. So yeah, it's just been an interesting time for this. All this advent of technology has been interesting.
every generation grows up with stuff that's normal for them
Hmm.
and not for anybody else. And that's fine. That's fine. I can do things that they don't know exists, and same for you. You guys can understand things that for me this is a mysterious world, this social media.
Yeah,
But I do understand it's got its place and value, and maybe will be a thing of the future. We don't really know.
we don't. We don't.
Right
Perhaps,
now
you know.
there's some power.
Exactly. And, you know, the power of connection and the power of reflection, you know, the power of conversation and collaboration. I'm actually just, I'm honored and I'm actually privileged. And it's a pleasure to meet you for the first time here because we got connected through NIDA.
Yes.
You know, I've known NIDA from some years, but how did you meet NIDA?
I met Nida sort of through a back door of a couple of people made introductions that eventually led Nida to me
Hmm.
to reach out and learn more about building her health.
Okay.
So she and I connected, and she wanted to do some work to rebuild some things that weren't where they should be,
Mhm.
and we very quickly made friends. Very
Mhm.
quickly made friends, and found out that we see a lot of the world in similar ways.
Yes,
Glad
absolutely.
I'm glad she said she praises you highly, right? And I don't know how much you know, but she praises you very highly and calls you one of her absolute favorite people. And I go, well, I got to meet this guy.
Awesome, awesome. She also told me that you were able to assist her, you know, in different ways. You were able to help her with her situation, and
Yeah,
she praised you as well for that because over the years, you know, I've interviewed a lot of different people and they've mentioned your name and especially they've mentioned your book, the
oh,
80-10-10, and how it changed and transformed their life and really just took it in a whole new direction. So, you know, I'd love to learn more about your journey and how it's evolved and what brought about everything. Where did it begin, this particular journey, do you feel?
it began it began sort of like a Tom Robbins story. Have you ever read any Tom Robbins?
No.
A fantastic author.
Hmm.
And what he starts describing, typically a book of his will start out in the first 4 chapters or 5 chapters will be each a separate story, apparently completely unrelated to the other 3 or 4. And then maybe maybe by chapter 6 he goes back to the follow up from chapter 1, and chapter 7 might be a follow up from chapter 2, and there's these 5 completely separate stories going on, and while you're reading it, you know they're going to come together, but there's no way they possibly could.
Hmm.
There's no way. You're halfway up. When I'm halfway through the book, I still know there's no way he's going to bring this together. It can't possibly happen. And then magically it all does within the last few pages. It's like, and they all just meet and everything happens and the impossible happens. And it's pretty fantastic. So life is like that, I think. You know, you don't really, or for me, I don't always see what's leading me where.
Right.
But I know I've been led my whole life. I've been guided. I've been looked out after. I've got at least 6 or 7 times that I easily could have died had things gone just a fraction of a second the other way, and or a fraction of an inch, and instead I didn't. Obviously, I'm supposed to be here for something.
Absolutely.
And that's to add value into the world through my explanations of things I've learned over time. So as a child, my mom and my sister were overweight and they started playing around with diet change. To me, diet change was pretty normal. My dad was from the country. He ate a lot more fruits and vegetables in their natural state right out of the garden than my mom, who grew up in the Bronx. And so they had different views, and that was okay too. To me, that seemed normal to, and it was, and as I did sports all through my teen years, I played around with various diet changes to see if any of those might somehow help me with my sports. Can't really say any of them did, but it was worth the experimenting. And then I had my first spiritual experience when I was 16, first of several, but I was on the beach one day in April, the only person on the beach. And although I didn't hear anything, I heard one word come out of the sky, which was health. It was really weird. And I turned my back to that, said, that's too freaky. And I started walking back up the beach, and the sound came again. This voice came again out of the sky, really out of the sky, but all around me all at once. And I know there was no noise, but I could hear it in my head. And again, I heard health. And I dedicated the rest of my life to the pursuit of high-level health.
Okay.
So, to understanding health, to accumulating health in my life and teaching others how to do the same. Took all the health there was to offer when I went through college courses. Took all the health and nutrition there was to offer as I went through my medical training to become a chiropractor. Just never looked back. It was a very, like, you don't look back from something that powerful. Right. And then I finally opened up a health clinic in 1986 once I'd finished school, a couple years after I finished school, and planted some fruit trees. And then the very first harvest of fruit trees, when I went to harvest the first piece of fruit off of my trees, I grabbed the fruit in my hand and had my second spiritual experience, which was a feeling. If you know the painting of the hand of God reaching down and man reaching up, right? Yes. So I had that feeling that I'm holding a piece of fruit and God's holding the other end of the piece of fruit, and it's up to God to let go and give it to me. Okay. I called my mom. I told her I had the most spiritual experience of my life, not religious, but spiritual. And it really moved me, but it made me, again, take fruit very seriously for the first time, really take fruit very seriously. I've been playing around with raw foods for some years already. Yes. But thinking vegetables was the answer. And it's not, because if you eat enough vegetables, you just get driven to eat starch. And anybody who's tried to be raw and found that next thing they know, they're eating bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes, they realize like if you center your diet around vegetables, there's just not enough calories and get driven to eat starch. There's no model in nature. The model in nature doesn't exist of any creature in the last, whatever, 500 million years or however long it's been. There's no model of any creature ever eating cooked food, you know, or intentionally cooking their food. That model doesn't exist.
Right.
And I find that the more I eat raw food, the more I get in touch with nature, the more I get in touch with my true self, the more I get clear in my head about what's going on. I just stay on fruits and vegetables, and all the right things happen in my health. All the right things happen in my life. And every time somebody eats cooked food, every single time, we're taking ourselves away from that connection, and separating ourselves from our true nature,
Right.
you know, in some kind of misguided effort to live outside of the laws of nature, which simply can't be done. You can't live outside the laws of nature. You can't break those laws. Nature will break you, as the saying goes. And so I've been told many times that children really love to have rules, that they like it better when there's rules. And it gives them guidelines and security and something they can count on. And it's good to know the rules. We've all had that experience of being really lost when you don't know the rules of whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
So I feel the same way. It's great to understand that nature has laws, and if we respect those laws, the same exact thing will happen to a human being as would happen to a plant.
Right.
If you're trying to take good care of a plant, if it's showing symptoms like it's droopy or it's brown or it's turning white or it's doing something it's not supposed to do, it's leggy, it's something, we don't give it stimulants and irritants and flushes and cleanses and treatment, and we don't do any of that stuff. All we do is give the plant what it needs. Oh, it needs water. Oh, it needs light. Oh, it needs whatever it needed. So our needs are really pretty simple. Many people wrote about it before I did. They call it, some people call it nature's 7 doctors, some call it 8, but things like fresh air and sunshine. And I think the big change happened when I realized that there's only 2 systems of healthcare. No matter what we're told, there's only 2 ways to look at it. You either follow a medical model, in which case you're trying to suppress symptoms or remove the cause of the symptoms by removing the part that's giving you symptoms. Basically, the medical model says do one thing when you're healthy and do something else when you're sick. So, the old popular just say no to drugs. They tell us just say no to drugs. Drugs will make you sick. Drugs are bad for you. Unless you are sick, in which case you take drugs to get healthy again. So I'm always wondering, how do the drugs know?
Yeah.
And then they tell kids to drink milk. Milk's good for you. It'll make you strong. It'll do whatever it'll do. But don't drink milk if you're sick, because then it'll make you congested. And how does the milk know? So I talked to a guy who's #1 in the world. He wrote the book on homeopathic medicine, and I asked him to explain homeopathic medicine to me, and he said, well, homeopathic medicines are really, really cool, because if you're sick, they'll get you well, but if you're already healthy and you take them, they won't do anything. And I asked him the same question. I said, how do they know?
Right.
And he thought for a while, and finally he said, that's a great question. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Okay. That was 38 years ago. I'm still waiting for him to, but I'm starting to have my
Okay.
doubts.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So then there's a health model, and the health model says exactly what I told you about the houseplant.
Mm,
The substances, forces, influences, and conditions, we could just call them conditions if you want,
right.
but the conditions that we require for health never change.
Mm,
But the amount of sunshine or the amount of exercise or the amount of water or food or social interaction, rest, sleep, and on with it, those quantities might change based on how you feel at any given time.
mm-hmm.
There's times where you just need some quiet time. There's times you need more sleep or less
Absolutely.
sleep. And but these are the parameters, these are our requirements for health. They've been laid out. They're obvious for a human to see. And it's just odd to me that mothers especially, but parents in general, have such a strong desire to nurture their children. And then as adults, we seem to want to find out how much self-abuse can we get away with and still go to work the next day, or uh, just get away with in general, as if you could get away with any. I don't think we can get away with any self-abuse.
Right.
Our lifeline is a cumulative experience. That's me talking a lot. I'd love to hear your
Oh no,
thoughts.
I love this. Thank you for this. Just laying it out the way that you did and just illustrating that, and just these wonderful reflections and the inquiry and just the breadcrumbs that you follow down the path of how questions can be the answer, like how does the milk know? How does the medicine know? Like how did the drugs know? Like how do these things know? And just how you were just finding through your own process, like it's almost like the Socratic method of questioning, like wait, how does that work, and how does that work, and just the spiritual experiences that you witnessed, from grabbing the fruit and then feeling the hand of God touching,
So,
that's amazing. And just the profound voice that you heard on the beach, and no one else is on the beach, you're the only one on the beach, and it's just saying health. Did you find out, or do you feel like now what the voice was?
well, I consider myself the angel of health, and the voice was a higher power than the angel of health talking to me, a very clear message that just couldn't be ignored. As I said, I know I'm here for a reason, and the reason became very clear that day. I need to. Most people actually don't study health. Like medical doctors don't study health at all. They only study disease,
Right.
and that's fine. I'm not knocking them when I say that. Uh, but if you tell a doctor, as I've done many times, I'll tell them that I'm a doctor of health, and they just look at me with a blank stare and ask, what the heck is that? What's a doctor of health? I go, well, you're a doctor of sickness. You might have a specialty. Maybe it's kidneys, or maybe it's lungs or brain or whatever, surgery. But I'm a doctor of health. And they go, but health has so many parts. Health is so big. And I agree. Health is huge, right? Health has so many aspects that to become a doctor of health is a serious undertaking.
Mhm.
It's a really serious undertaking. This isn't, well, I'm a fitness expert and fitness is part of health, or I'm a mental health expert and mental health is part of health, or all the other parts. This is a much bigger picture to become. It took me decades to become a leading authority on the subject of health.
Right.
It was a serious undertaking. It was a life's work.
Mhm.
So it's a responsibility I take very seriously. The cool thing is that by respecting the messages sent to me by Mother Nature, by God, by Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it, cool things happened. Good things happened. And as soon as I embraced raw foods, my eyes opened, my brain cleared.
Yeah.
I could remember things. I can remember all my school teachers' names. I could remember kids' names from school. Things that happened, things people said. I started learning far faster than I was learning before. I'd never been able to learn foreign languages, and now I can pick them up.
Yeah.
I could recall, you know, that feeling of not being able, you have a word on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't quite say what, or you're having a conversation with somebody and maybe you splinter off into a side conversation and then eventually go, what were we talking about?
Yes. Yes.
So those two things used to happen to me a lot. The word on the tip of my tongue, the what were we talking about? And that just stopped happening. It stopped. All of a sudden I could remember the words and I could remember what we were talking about even when no one else in the room could.
Yes.
It was just, and instantly needed 25% less sleep. It was magnificent. Waking up with more energy and getting an extra 2 hours in every day to be productive. Recovery was so fast that I often felt like I was recovering while I was training. It was nuts. Right. It was just nuts. It was so profound. The way I started was I did a 30-day experiment.
Okay.
All right, like I was vegetarian for 7 years, starting in my college days, and then I went vegan, but I was only vegan for about 6 months. When I said, okay, I'm gonna try raw vegan.
Oh, okay.
Okay, raw vegan. Let's see what that is. I'll give it a month just to see. And after 14 days, the results were so profound. I just go, I'm never going back. I'm never going back.
Wow. Yeah.
I did go back. I did fall on my face many times. As I said, I tried to eat too many vegetables. I like vegetables, love a good salad. Try to eat too many nuts and seeds. I like nuts and seeds, but too many fats. And all of a sudden, there's just not enough carbohydrate to fuel the fitness level that I wanted to have.
Okay.
And I'd be drawn to bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes, whatever it was, something to get some carbohydrates.
Right.
That had to happen a few times, maybe 20 times over the course of a couple of years before I finally realized I need to increase my fruit intake, because nobody was talking about that. I went to all the raw fooders in the I'll say in the world, but all the ones I could find anyway. There was only 4. Back then, there was only 4, and there was Johnny Lovelace and T.C. Fry and Virginia Vitrano and Victoris Kulvinskas. And I went to them, and I talked to them face to face and said, "Hey, what's the deal here? I'm trying to be an athlete, and I want to design a diet that goes with it. Should it be cooked or raw?" And they all said it should be raw diet, no question. Raw will give you better athletic results. I go, "What's that diet supposed to look like?" And they go, "We've got no idea. All we do is help sick people get well." That was the only time raw food was really ever used, was as a last resort to help sick people get well.
I see.
Nobody
I see.
ever thought, hey, recovery, when sick people try to get well, they need to recover. Whether it's from the hospital or from an accident or an illness, it doesn't matter. They need to recover. Nobody ever thought to say, well, athletes do that every day. They recover. They recover every season. They recover every game. They recover every day. They recover every road trip. They recover in between points. They recover constantly. Recovery is a big deal for an athlete. Nobody ever thought to say, oh, the exact same things that we do to help a sick person get well, by stacking all the cards in their favor and giving them just what they need. Somebody's comatose in the intensive care unit, and they're getting a drip. They're getting fed through a drip. They're getting everything they need. They get water, sugar, and electrolytes. Now, in a hospital, they know that's what you need: water, sugar, electrolytes. And there's no nurses going up to the doctors and saying, where does the patient get their protein? They're being given everything they need: water, sugar, and electrolytes.
Wow.
Doesn't that tell us something?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do I need? I need water, sugar, and electrolytes. I'm going to get that from fruits and vegetables. I'm not eating anything that makes me thirsty.
No.
My water intake is almost zero. If I'm thirsty, I'll drink.
Yeah.
But otherwise, people say, what kind of water do you drink? I go, it doesn't really matter, because I drink almost none.
Yeah.
Almost none. Like from autumn until spring, no water.
Because you're hydrated, you know.
I'm hydrated from my fruits and vegetables.
There you go. There you go.
I grew up spending a lot of time on boats. A lot. Like every summer for sure, and sometimes other times a year as well. And spent a lot of time on boats. And one of the things I learned is don't ever, ever, ever drink the ocean water.
Right.
It'll kill you. You die of dehydration from the salt. Well, it seemed odd to me that people would take seawater and remove the water in order to eat the salt.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Thinking
Jesus.
Somehow that's good for you.
Yeah.
I'm going, wait a minute, with the water, I was going to die of dehydration. What's going to happen to me without the water?
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Like, in medicine, there's a disease called pica.
Okay.
Some people say pica. And if you look it up in the dictionary, basically pica is it's a mental aberration where you start eating things that aren't food, like pencil erasers or silverware or dirt. Well, salt comes straight out of the ground. Tell me it's not dirt. But just because everybody uses it, we don't consider it a problem. But if an outsider looked at it, said, my goodness gracious, these people are eating half the lethal dose of salt every single day.
Yeah. Multiple times a day. Yeah.
So much salt that the average person is dehydrated roughly 12 glasses of water per day. That's 3 quarts or 3 liters, depends on where you're from. And that's a long way to be dehydrated, because for the average person, if you're down 1 pint, you're already medically classified as dehydrated. We can measure performance decline from being low 1 pint of water. The average person's low by 6 or 8 pints, just all the time. It's a scary thing.
It is.
To think like you're letting a dehydrated person fly your airplane. You're letting a dehydrated person drive towards you on the, as they're driving their car in the other direction, and share the roads with people who are medically dehydrated to the point where it's affecting their judgment, it's affecting their reaction time, it's affecting their strength, it's affecting a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know, life just got increasingly interesting. I used to tell people, go raw, you'll add 5 to 10 years to your health life, to your performance life, to your fitness experience. But I was completely wrong. I was completely wrong, because I'm 71. I just won national championships in powerlifting a couple weeks ago.
Congrats.
Thanks. It's a new sport for me. I only took it up about 15 years ago, and it's something I'd never done my whole life.
Mm.
But I'm seeing people 20 years, 25 years beyond the age of the second place competitor. And I'm watching people in their 50s winning races where the second place person's 23 or 22, and they're beating the pants off the
Yeah.
kids. It's crazy. So I was wrong in that estimate. It's really 15 or 20 or 25 years. I don't even know how much. But it's a tremendous experience of, if you look at a bunch of birds flying by, look at a flock of birds,
Mm-hmm.
you can't pick out the young ones from the old ones.
Hmm.
Maybe the babies, but the rest of them, you look at a herd of elk or antelope or deer or whatever, you can't pick out the young ones from the old ones. Maybe the babies, the yearlings, but after that, they just look like adults. But with people, my goodness, you can guess practically, most of the time you can guess within 5 years. Every decade is easy.
Yeah.
And why?
Right.
Why is that so profound? Why do we age so poorly?
Mm.
Doctors studied all the parts of the body and found that the most poorly designed part of a human body is the knee. The knee is a delicate structure. It's really not designed to last compared to the rest of the body. Typically, a well cared for knee will wear out in about 300 years. So if a knee is designed to last 300 years, then that's our weakest link.
Yeah.
How long are we designed to last?
Right.
Like, I think a long time.
Yes.
I'm in no rush to leave. I've got work to do. I've got things to do. There's stuff I want to see.
Right.
I was in 1976, before you were born. In 1976, I was on top of a rooftop in Washington, D.C., watching the bicentennial fireworks.
Wow.
They were so fantastic. I really like good fireworks. I swore on the spot that I want to watch the tricentennial fireworks, man. I'll only be 123. Why not?
Why not?
Why
Why
not?
not? Yes. I love this. I love this perspective. I love your philosophy, just your outlook, and the outlook, it comes from your in look, it's the insight that you see these things on the outside because you were brave enough to see them on the inside. And it hits home so many things that you're talking about, Doug, like just even with, the medical field, it hits home. It plucks a lot of strings because my mom is a doctor, she's an obstetrician gynecologist.
Bless
And
them. We need them.
yes, but of course, what you said, it is perfectly on point. Like she admitted, to me openly that she didn't know a lot about nutrition. She never, received a lot of that nutritional guidance or just even instruction in that field. And just to hear your perspective on what we don't commonly hear of dehydration, and how usually we think of somebody who's intoxicated or inebriated, or somebody who's falling over from drug abuse or substance abuse, but we rarely hear people say, oh, look, this, you trust this dehydrated person to fly your airplane, or a dehydrated person. This is the first time I'm really hearing that side. Yeah.
Do your surgery.
Mm.
Like, doctors intentionally get dehydrated because, well, surgeons, because the surgery could last so long, and going to the bathroom is a major inconvenience and interruption. And so they just go in dry. They go in as dry as they can.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, we know dehydration adversely affects performance. It's measurable. Right. It is a little scary. And yeah, the dehydrated people. There's a lot of substance abuse too, and we it's just one more thing in that whole bucket of whoa. We got to There's a model in nature that shows us very clearly how great we can be.
Yeah.
And if you ask kids, how great do you want to be? They want to be as great as they can be.
Great as possible. Yeah.
I don't understand where the urgency went. You know, kids, there was an old saying from a band called The Doors. Jim Morrison was quite a poet, and he said, "We want the world and we want it now." Okay, so this urgency that children have, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? The urgency that kids have, please, 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 please. And I would think like a 60 or a 70 or an 80-year-old would be feeling a whole lot more urgency. Like, don't they see there's an end in sight? I would think they'd show more urgency, but it seems like, nah, I don't really care that much anymore. Just don't care. And to me, I've got a wife, I've got a daughter. I care about the future.
Right.
I really care.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to say that's wrong if I see something that's wrong. I don't care if 10 million people stand in front of me say, it's right, it's right, it's right. I'm going to say, no, that's wrong. I can see that's wrong. I can tell you that's wrong. I can tell you why it's wrong. And I don't care if 100 million people tell me what's right to me is right to me, and I'm willing to stand up and say so.
Right. Right.
I'm not coming out against anybody or anything. I'm coming out in favor of eating fruits and vegetables. It's really clear.
Yes.
I'm not. I don't spend time on the things that I don't want. I'm a target-oriented guy. You know, I aim towards my goal. I set my goal. I aim towards my goal. I'm going towards my goal.
Yes.
I want to see a lot more people eating fruits and vegetables. I'm working with a client in India who's part of a company that last year planted 10 million fruit trees.
Wow.
They say they're going to double that this year and do 20 million more.
Wow. Wow.
With a goal of 1 billion.
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah.
Plant 1 billion fruit trees in India, and it's still only 1 tree per person. But at least 1 tree will get you through a couple of months of fruit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I told them shoot for 5 billion.
Shoot for the stuff. Yeah, you're like, go further.
But they want to become a world power in food.
I see.
And I think they're going to do it. Because I don't know anybody else planting 10 million fruit trees last year.
Wow. Wow. They say that, you know, the one who plants a tree knowing that they might not lie in the shade, you know, like they've understood the meaning of life. Like when they plant a tree that could be used by someone else when they're not even here anymore, then they've understood. Yeah.
I'm imagining most of the fruits and vegetables I'm eating were planted by, you know, at least from trees, were planted by people who aren't alive anymore. They had vision.
Wow. They
had vision. They planted stuff for me. I'm ever so grateful. I'm ever so grateful. And yeah, some trees bear fruit kind of early, but there's lots of trees where you got to wait 20, 30, 40 years to get good fruit. To get anything back, right? Like, but if you don't plant trees, I mean, what are your kids going to eat if you're not planting trees? You want to have grandkids? What are they going to eat if you're not planting the trees now? They're going to eat from McDonald's burgers or something, whatever they're making out of plastic food. I mean, if there's not fruit, we're missing something vital.
Thank you for speaking on these things, Dr. Doug, because I was missing so many vital things, you know, throughout my whole childhood, my adolescence, and even my 20s, you know, when you mentioned the dehydration and the correlation
I
between,
reaction.
say again?
I saw your reaction.
Yes, when you talked about the salt, and like, I mean, my reaction was because I was going down memory lane of all the times that I was just pouring on table salt or adding ketchup or adding, you know, mustard or adding sauces and barbecues and hot sauce and vinegar and Texas Pete and Louisiana, and like it was never enough. The condiments, they were never enough for the stimulation,
Right.
you know, the sensation.
Right.
So it was just ridiculous. Yeah.
We really get addicted to stimulants.
Yeah.
Human beings are suckers for stimulants. We love it. And I find that all I need to do is get enough sleep, and stimulants look stupid. I don't have any need for stimulants if I got enough sleep. Then life becomes incredibly interesting, incredibly exciting,
Mm.
so amazing. So I'm spreading the word.
Yes.
Eat more fruit, a lot more fruit. For my own routine, like I pretty much eat fruit in the morning, fruit in the afternoon, and fruit before my dinner salad or
Uh,
dinner, whatever they're going to be. And I teach culinary skills, so that part's fun. We'll be doing that in Bali, and it's fun to uh, show people all the ways to play with food
mhm.
and still have it, fit into the whole, fresh, ripe, raw, organic plant um, cup.
Yeah.
Where I go, well, this is my basis right here: whole, fresh, ripe, raw, organic plants. The funny thing is, if I tell somebody that I eat a lot of fruits or I eat a lot of vegetables, they'll say that's good for you. There's nobody going to tell you eating fruits or vegetables is bad for you. Nobody. And as soon as I tell them I eat fruits and vegetables to the exclusion of everything else, oh no, that can't work. That can't work. No, 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 no. And I'm going, well, we've already agreed fruits and vegetables are the best for humans. How could eating only the best
Yeah.
now turn into something
Right.
bad?
Right.
It can't possibly. And and hundreds of people have told me my health's going to fail. You
Mm.
can't do that, Dr. Graham. You can't just live on fruits and vegetables. Raw food is good, but it's not that good.
Mm.
And I go, your health's going to fail. You're going to get sick. Your bones are going to break. You're this and that and the next. And they've been telling me this for 44 years, and I haven't got sick once.
Mm.
And I'm still waiting. Like none of them are still even in the health movement. Most of those people who told me decades ago that my health was going to fail, a lot of them aren't even alive. I'm sad to say, but
Wow. Wow.
my health's just going strong. I feel great. I wake up every morning with the energy that a kid has. I go put in a very full day every single day, 7 days a week. I love what I do. I remain active. Like I say, I'm still lifting. Everything works the way it's supposed to work. All my parts work. I sleep through the night. I don't know what do people need. I don't know what people need. I find two kinds of people come to 80-10-10 or come to raw foods, and they're either desperately ill or they're incredibly intelligent. Sometimes both, but it's usually like scared, witless. Everything else failed, so they might as well try raw food.
Mm.
Or they're smart as heck and they realize that, hey, it's working for me, it's working for thousands of other people. They're seeing the model. We're not being quiet about it.
No.
And I mean, when you have something this good, you can't stay quiet about it.
Right. Your cup's running over. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on in. The water's fine. It's
Yeah.
really good. Eat more fruit. What could be hard about that?
Yeah, we had just as you were speaking, Dr. Graham, there was in the comments, I believe it was Scepter Alum. Yeah, Wanda Beacon was asking how long you've been a raw vegan. I think since 1978, right?
Well, the transition started in '78. I didn't really get the 100% raw part,
Mm.
but I started going raw then,
Right.
and I didn't really get to that commitment of 100% raw for about 6 years, and then in the middle '80s, I said, you know what, it's time to go
Right.
all raw, and even then, it took some
Mm.
learning.
Mm.
So even then, it took a few years of maybe be raw for 6 months and then fall flat on my face and have baked potato or something, or just starchy. It was always starchy over and over and over. It was starchy,
Yeah.
and it took another 6 or 7 years before I finally said, this is going to take a lot of fruit to replace starch.
Mm.
And then I flashed back on Mrs. Moore in fourth grade. She was my school teacher in fourth grade, Mrs. Moore,
Okay.
and and about once a month or so, she would hand out colored paper, sheets of colored paper, scissors, and
Mm.
paste, and we were supposed to cut up the paper and paste it onto itself, make some kind of picture.
Mm-hmm.
And the message that she told us was, don't eat the paste. Have fun with the scissors and the paper and spreading the paste, but don't eat the paste. And there was this one kid in my class named Andrew, and he was always eating the paste. That's
Mm-hmm.
why she was. Nobody else would even think of it. And I looked into it a little bit, and what's in paste, and it's just flour and water.
Mm.
It's just flour and water. And Mrs. Moore was smart enough to tell us don't eat it, even though it's just flour and water. That's how you make paste. If you want to hang wallpaper, you use flour and water. That's it. Wallpaper paste is flour and
I
water.
see.
And I'm thinking, if a person goes to jail, the food isn't that great. But if they're bad in jail, they get punished. And what they get then is just bread and water.
Uh,
I'm going, wow, bread is punishment. They're using bread as punishment, right?
wow.
Because
Wow.
you get weak on just bread. You just get weak and weak, and and it'll dull you.
Okay.
So that's what they want. That's how they're punishing these guys, and put them on bread and water. Put them in the hole, bread and water for 30 days, And I'm flashing back to Mrs. Moore. Don't eat the paste. And then I'm thinking, almost every language, they make paste, don't they?
Mm.
Uh, what do they call it in Italy when they take starch and water and they mix it together, when they take
Forget.
grains and what? Oh, they call it pasta. It,
Okay.
it's sort of like
Okay.
paste, isn't it?
I see.
Hey, they didn't really hide the fact that it's just paste,
Oh God.
but it's been extruded through a shape.
Oh God.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then you go to France and they add sugar. They add some sugar and maybe even some eggs to the paste.
Mm.
And then they have a name for that too, don't they? Oh, they call it pastry.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, they're not hiding the fact that you're eating paste. It's just wallpaper paste with a little sugar added.
Oh my gosh. This is, just all these comparisons that you're connecting, like all the dots that you're reflecting, like it just, man, it's like a slap in the face. I mean, as much pasta as I ate over the years, I probably ate more than Garfield. You remember Garfield, that cartoon? Yeah, the Garfield the cat, well, he was always eating pasta. That was me too. I was always eating. If it wasn't lasagna, it was fettuccine. If it wasn't that, it was spaghetti. If it wasn't that, it was, linguine. If it wasn't that, so yeah, ravioli, like all of that stuff. So my goodness, the starches, the flours, the pastry, it's in the word, the etymology of the word. It's telling you that it's glued, to your
You know
insides
what
and
they
just
call
kind of.
cookies in Spanish? Pastel.
Mm,
It's still paste.
okay.
And I think in a couple of Eastern European languages, they're called pitzel. It's all paste. They don't hide the fact that it's
Wow.
paste.
Wow.
And how, you know that 90% of the grains grown in the world is grown to feed livestock? But 90% of the money to pay the farmers for their grain comes from humans eating the other 10%.
Wow.
Farmers pay very, very little for their bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes to feed their livestock.
Wow.
Their wheat, whatever their, oats and rye and barley and wheat.
Okay.
They pay very, very little because 90% of the cost is paid by humans buying bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes.
Interesting.
A lot of money. So every time you eat starchy foods, you're basically paying a farmer to raise more cattle.
Interesting.
This to me does not sit well. As a vegan, this does not sit well.
No.
There's people tell me they went vegan for ethical reasons. And I go, yeah, there's a difference between vegan for ethical reasons and being an ethical vegan. There's nothing ethical about me buying bread, rice, pasta, corn, potatoes, buying any wheat product when all I'm doing is subsidizing the cattle industry.
Still going back into it. Yeah.
For sure, because farmers couldn't afford to pay what humans pay for bread.
Right.
They can't pay that. They pay 1/100th what humans pay.
Mm.
And then there's food like olives and rapeseed and corn and various vegetables, where through the wonder of machinery, we can extract the oil. And you go to any grocery store, there's olive oil and corn oil and every kind of, there's lots of oil.
Mm-hmm.
There's even what we're told is the good oil, whatever it might be, whatever you believe.
Uh-huh.
But when they extracted the oil, what did they do with all the leftover, all the vegetable parts that were left? Where does that go?
Yeah.
That goes to livestock. So what do you think they're paying for that product that humans won't even eat because it's had all the oil already removed from it, right? Like, they're paying next to nothing for the vegetable matter, and we're paying arm and leg for the oil.
Yeah.
Every time you pour oil on your salad, vegans, you're subsidizing the meat and dairy industry.
Wow. Wow.
They couldn't exist without us eating the oil. They wouldn't have food for their livestock. A hamburger would cost $200 if they actually had to pay. But no, we subsidize it. Human beings are subsidizing it with every bite they take, it seems. And it's just starches 3, 4, 5 times a day. And I just keep going back. Mrs. Moore telling me, don't eat the paste.
Don't eat the paste.
Right?
Don't eat the, yeah. It's so interesting just to hear this all broken down and just all connected, and just all these comparisons that you've drawn, just through just the logical and systematic, just through your own deduction. It's like Sherlock Holmes just deducing all of this stuff and really just with a magnifying glass taking a peek underneath what is right there in the open, in plain sight, as they say, hiding in plain sight.
It is.
You just
It is in plain sight. It's right there for anybody to see. If you look at a tree with fruit on it, it draws you to it. It's very hard not to pluck some fruit off of a tree.
Yeah.
We're so drawn to it. But if you go to a baseball field or a football field and see some of the most beautiful grass, or a golf course, the most beautiful grass in the world, your mouth doesn't water when you see grass.
Mm-hmm.
You might look in awe at a bunch of wildebeest or deer or elk, but your mouth doesn't water.
Mm.
You look at fruit on a tree or a bowl of fruit on the table. Everybody wants to grab some of that. It's an automatic. It's in our nature. It is our nature.
Mm.
It's who we are. We have something called a sweet tooth for a reason, because we're looking for sweet. The first taste you taste on the tip of your tongue is sweet. You taste the other things further back. You taste sour on the sides of your tongue. You taste bitter on the back of your tongue. You taste sweet on the tip of your tongue. When a baby puts food in their mouth or anything else, they're checking to see if it's sweet. They stop having milk teeth and they stop producing the lactase to digest it, and all of a sudden the milk tastes bad anyway. And what comes in after the milk teeth is sweet tooth. How you develop a taste for sweets. You need sweets because it gets you more carbohydrates. Babies aren't active. They don't need the sweets. Adults are active. We need sweets.
Wow. You know, you mentioned earlier, Dr. Graham, about there were six to eight times in your life where you said within a fraction, like if anything had gone wrong, if just even anything just in that moment that you might not even be here, you know?
Yes.
Would you please go into, like, if you could shed light on any of those instances and just talk about the impact that that has had on you?
Sure. Well, the impact, it just keeps driving me to make use of every single day. The impact is it reminds me yet again, I'm supposed to be here and I've got work to do.
Right.
There's a reason. I love my work. It's not like it's work I hate doing. I love it. But I'm really driven. I'm motivated. I don't question it in any way. It's who I am. It's what I do. For me, actually, the hard part is separating work from life, because so much of my life is tied up in what I do. You know, my lifestyle is my work. And the insights that come from living my lifestyle become my work as I explain to other people what I've learned, how does it come together? Why does, what? There's not an athlete on the planet that intentionally gets dehydrated. Why would anybody think getting dehydrated is a health practice? You start to, I go, no, that's not right. I'm willing to stand up against it. I was snow skiing one day. I had the pleasure to go snow skiing with a client who took me backcountry skiing. And it was really nice. We're on the backside of Aspen going up in a ski cat. I felt like, wow, how lucky am I to get to do this for a day with a client. And I was snowboarding. A couple people were skiing, a couple were snowboarding. I was snowboarding along, having a nice time, got to be early in the afternoon, and the ground had heated up, the snow had heated up a bit and then gotten cold again. It was crusty. So at one point I broke through the crust, and then I leaned forward enough to keep moving, and then I hit a patch of crust that I didn't break through. I'm now like leaning forward on ice, and so I leaned back a little bit to slow it down, and I fell backwards as the board just slid on the ice. I fell backwards, no big deal. I mean, it's just a little itty bitty fall backwards. And I put my hands behind me and hit the snow, and the snow fell over me because it's Colorado. Aspen. Yeah, Colorado. I'm in this beautiful snow, but it's flaky enough. It's dry snow, and it's just kind of covered over me. So I now know I've got maybe 3 inches of snow in front of my face, and you can't breathe. I couldn't breathe at all. I could not breathe at all.
God.
Okay, no big deal. I'm just going to sit up. So I go to sit up, and all that happens is my butt drops down. So I reach with my hands, and I reach down as far as I could, and all that happens is my hands just hit powder snow. There's lots of snow. At that point, I started getting a little concerned because I still can't breathe, and I can't figure out how to get my head clear. I don't have much more that I can try. I don't know what to try. If I try to push down, I just go down. I got nothing to push against. After about a minute, a skier came down the hill behind me, saw me go down, and came over and just went, just like that, just a little brush of hand. That's all it was. There was like this much snow. There's no snow, just very little, but it doesn't take much. And just brushed it off my face and said, "You okay?" And I went, "I am now."
Jeez.
But it was pretty amazing.
But that close, Jesus.
Yeah, I was that close.
They had no idea. They just brushed it off like,
Yeah.
are you all right? Wow.
And then I got up and continued and had a lovely day. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was a brush with death for sure.
And I mean, how did that affect you? Like having that brush with, I mean, almost just, you know what I mean? Like having that brush, how did that affect you mentally after that?
For me, it's just a reminder that we're here for a limited amount of time. And I know what mark I want to leave. It's not like I need a plaque or a billboard or I don't need a giant pedestal with my name on it or anything like that. I just want to influence people to take better care of take care of their health. Just influence more people to take better care of their health. I've often talked about it in terms of my following. Like I have a following, lots of people have a following, and I'm not looking for a bigger slice of the pie. I want everybody to have a following. I want the pie to get 1,000,000 times bigger or 1,000,000,000 times bigger. We need a lot more people taking great care of their health. And so my work for the last 45 years has been to influence people to take better care of their health, to eat more fruit, to respect the laws of nature, to focus on recovery and provide the very basics that humans require.
Yeah.
All it is saying babies need nurturing and adults need adult-sized portions of nurturing. Rather than how much abuse can I get away with, I want to see how much nurturing can I accumulate. How good can I get?
Wow.
I just want to find out how good can I get. And I have a lot of fun doing it, and I'm enjoying myself every step of the way. And I love it when people have insights. That to me is one of the highlights of my day, is if I can get somebody else to go, "Oh, now I see why this is so important to you," or "Now I see how this connects," or "Wow, maybe I'm going to think twice before I have my next pasta meal," or whatever it is, and go, I could have had fruit.
Yes.
It's not that it would have been just as good. It would have been way better. Right. A meal would be way better than a meal of pasta.
Yeah.
It's just trying it as an experiment. I'm not telling anybody like make commitments or anything else. Just make an experiment.
Yeah. Just
eat more fruit. See how you feel.
See how you feel. Yeah. Just having that message. I love that. Just to see how you feel, like see if you can take it a little bit further, than where you are right now, and just to have that message for the world. Before you go, I'd love to hear about, you mentioned Bali, and I've seen that you put up best self in Bali. Why Bali of all places? Why Bali, Indonesia?
Why Bali? Well, a couple reasons. The first reason was NIDA.
Yes, of course.
And NIDA has a strong connection with Bali.
Absolutely.
And she said to me, "Dr. Graham, would you ever like to come to Bali?" I said, "It's funny you should ask, because since I was a little boy, I've always wanted to go to Bali. I have very few places in the world that I really, really want to go. I travel for a living. I travel a lot. I've seen a lot of the world that way. And I don't have a travel bug per se. Like I just want to, I'm perfectly happy staying home. But I'd love to see Bali. I'd love to see Bali. Well, the other thing is a lot of my events are very content oriented. We're really focused on the mechanics of building health and the information regarding fitness or raw food or, you know, different aspects of health recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done a couple of trips myself where it's been a little bit more cultural.
Mm.
So I really wanted to go to Bali because it's a place that has a unique culture where it's easy to access that culture.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I mean, that's what they do there, make it possible for you to access their culture. So you know what? It'd be great to create an event where I still get to do my educating part, but we can still access a cultural experience
Mm-hmm.
and not be so rushed. Like I'm not trying to cram it into 4 days or 6 days. It's not just a seminar, but it's actually a self-betterment trip.
Yes.
But it'll have that cultural side to it where you're going to learn about another people and the history of all that and how it comes together there. Meanwhile, it's that time of year. It's that time of year where the fruit isn't fantastic in very many places, but it's going to be fantastic in Bali.
And you talk about local, you know, having things from local. Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious! I just can't wait
Mm-hmm.
to go eat the local grown fruit
Local.
right there on Bali, and a lot of people haven't tried that fruit. So part of our education will be teaching people, you know, what is a rambutan, what is a mangosteen, and what is a durian, and what is a chempedak, so they can at least. For me, so much of my lifestyle is around fruit
Mm-hmm.
that I know I need to be a connoisseur of fruit. I have to be knowledgeable. So it's not just a banana, but it's a type of banana. It's not just a grape, but a type of grape. And the grape has some history and why is it called Thompson seedless, you know, and whatever it might be. And they all have names and they all have stories. There's a story behind every variety of every piece of fruit. So it's nice to know that stuff and then be able to share it with other people so they can appreciate what all went into coming up with a new variety of mango, or understanding the difference between GMO and grafted and the other kinds of genetically modified, hybridized, just getting the facts out there.
Yes.
So that people can understand, like, whether is seedless good or bad, and then a discussion of all that, and how nature creates lots of seedless fruit all by herself without any input from us. Nature doesn't rely solely on seed in order for plants to reproduce. She's got 3 or 4 other ways. So
Beautiful.
it's just, for me, it was the right place at the right time. Yeah.
It just came together. Yeah. Everything came together. I love that, you know, teaching people the history, the story, you know, stories definitely make the world go round. I really enjoy stories behind things. I enjoy you telling us your story and enjoying you sharing so many stories that really touched me. And I know it touched so many people during this conversation. And I love that you enjoy making light bulbs go off in people's minds when they connect the pieces of the puzzle themselves, when you're giving this information, and just they have the sensation of, wow, like that clicks, that sticks, you know, that makes a lot of sense, you know. So
for me, it was all about replacing starch with fruit. Once I did that, everything else fell into place.
Came. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
listen, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I appreciate the chance to reach out to people and share what I have. You're a great host. Yeah.
Oh, you made it way easy for me. You made it so
Oh,
easy. Thank you. And just right before you go, just let people know the best place that they can receive your offerings and your services. What's the best place they can
I
go
mean, my
to receive?
website's called Food and Sport. I named it back when you could only have 10 letters on AOL. How about that? Long time ago. And so it's just the word food, the letter N, like Nancy,
Mm-hmm.
and then the word sport. Foodandsport.com. If they go there, they can find out anything they want. They can click on retreats. They can look at my schedule. They can find out all about the Bali trip.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a click away. If you want to talk to me for free, they can schedule a free talk with me. I'm happy to discuss anybody's health problems with anybody.
Awesome.
I make myself accessible, and I love being able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Foodandsport.com. Beautiful. Awesome. Well, Dr. Graham, once again, just thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jerome, and you too. Enjoy the day, man.
Will
Thanks again.
will do. Take care.
Bye-bye now. Go to health, my man. Go to health.